Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and in today's video we'll be talking about the GERMA Double Six, and you know what that calls for, that's right! Super Sick Power Rangers Super Sentai Transformation Sequence, go! Transformation Sequence complete! Tekking Mask! Haha! Oh, I love a good Henshin in the morning. It really feels, it just invigorates you, you know? Alright, so as many of you probably are already aware, the Whole Cake Island arc just wrapped up, not last episode, but the episode before that in the anime, and I must say, that finale with the opera queuing up the duet, I think it was Big Mom's and Brooks VAs together forming that Soul Pocus duet, oh my god, that was beautiful, such a great poetic way to just close out the arc and all that stuff, but there are still a lot of questions abound regarding the GERMA Double Six, like, are they gonna be okay? Are they gonna escape from Totland? Because that was left kind of ambiguous. The last time we saw them, they were still in the middle of a, naval warfare at Cacao Island. Oven was there. Big Mom arrived. There was a lot of stuff going on. Granted, you had the Fishman Pirates. You had Jinbei there as well, but there was just a lot of craziness going on. We definitely need to get that enlightened at some point. Maybe when Jinbei finally arrives at Wano, whether he be in his actual form or in his homie form, totally. But, whatever, he, sheds some light on, okay, here's what happened with us, and then here's what happened with Big Mom's crew, and then here's what happened with the GERMA. So that's a question. Did the GERMA escape? Where are the GERMA gonna go after they've escaped? Are they gonna stay in the Grand Line? Are they gonna go back to the North Blue? Are we ever going to see Reiju's boobs again? That's my question personally, but I think a lot of other people are asking the much more profound question, I guess, of are we gonna get to see Reiju's legs again? There's some guys that are way into legs. I never really understood them, but okay, fine, I'll mention it. Yeah, she did in fact have legs. I'll bring that up too. But anyway, yeah, so we're just gonna go over that today, discussing, what is gonna be the future for the GERMA, because, after the arc wraps up and you really go back and you just kind of look at it from a new perspective, like you're not doing it week to week anymore, you're just looking back at the whole arc as a whole, in this case, a Whole Cake Island. Okay, that was lame. That was, even by my standards, that was cringy. God dang. Alright, but you look back on it and you say, okay, what did this arc give us? It introduced a Yonko's territory properly, really how, the land that is ruled over by one of the emperors really is set up. It gives us a whole new slew of characters, like Katakuri and everybody, and the Sweet Commanders and all that. But it also gave us the GERMA. And the GERMA were unique, not just because they were ripped directly from, a Kamen Rider Super Sentai kind of series, but also they were a group that had incredibly advanced technology. They had cloning technology, they had raid suit, augmented, suit technology. They had the technology that raised the Vinsmokes children from, regular kids to, battle-hardened, super soldiers as adults. So that was a cool thing. And it's sort of, juxtaposed a lot of stuff in the One Piece world, because, yeah, in the One Piece world, we have a lot of, technological advancements. We got the pacifistas and everything, but most of that stuff was always kind of cordoned off to the world government, to Vega Punk. Whenever we get introduced to a new kind of crazy invention, it's usually either Vega Punk or Frankie. And Frankie worked at Vega Punk's laboratory for 2 years, so he comes back and he's got his radical beam and he's got his, Megazord and everything. You can liken that as oh, the reason he figured that out, it was because he was at Vega Punk's lab. But then we get this whole other section that's not Vegapunk directly. Judgy worked with Vegapunk for a time, so there's the connection there. But it's this whole completely different kind of technology that we've just never seen in the One Piece world up until that point, that the GERMA's had. And maybe at first it might have been a little bit crazy, we're getting this all of a sudden, but looking back on it now, I'm there's a few ways you could take this, and I'm glad that this kind of thing was introduced. I really have this idea that Oda, he wants his series, it's been going on for so long, 21 plus years, 22 years in 2019. He really just wants to include a little bit of everything that he loves into One Piece, and he's I'm really a big fan of samurai and ninja. Okay, well that's what Wano's about. I'm also kind of a big fan of Super Sentai. I'm gonna put that in there. Or another way of looking at it is maybe Oda, because he's Japanese, and his series is going on for so long and everybody in Japan knows about it, maybe he wants to inject just a little bit of everything around Japanese culture into to One Piece. And so the Germa are obviously the Super Sentai, cultural phenomenon that's been going on for decades over in Japan. So maybe that's what something else he's trying to fit in there, just so everybody has a little bit of something they like in his manga. So that's pretty cool, right? Okay, so I'm pretty sure the Germa all managed to escape. Well, maybe not all of the clone troops managed to survive. If we're gonna go Star Wars with this, they might not have all made it out okay. But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because they're clones, and as long as the vessels survive, like the giant clone tanks, you'll be okay. They can always make more. Might take some time, because it wasn't stated that they can just, churn them on, every day. I think Yonji came up to Sanji once and was explaining, like, we have this many and this many, but we're running short on this many and this many. So they're not going to be in action for quite a while. It's not like they can just leave Totland and then just, like, the next day, like, all right, well, back to a campaign of destruction across the world. They're gonna have to take some time to lick their wounds, both figuratively and, literally as well, because they also suffered some pretty heavy injuries. Judge, in particular, seemed to have lost an eye. He might have not have lost an eye, but his eye was bandaged, so he might lose it. Who knows? We might see him with an eye patch or something over his eye. Or, considering, he's the scientific expert, he might be able to make a fake eye, whether it be, like, a glass eye, just really basic, or, like, a technological, like, super eye or something. Maybe. I don't know. Judge in general is kind of lackluster compared to the other Vinsmokes. You know what I mean? Like, Ichiji can control combustion and fire. Niji is freaking electricity. Reiju, poison. Yonji is like the lamest out of all of the initial Vinsmoke siblings, barring Sanji, of course, because he's not really part of that. But Yonji's is just like super strength, which is cool. Super strength is cool. He can grab giant boulders and crush them, and his arm is like a robotic arm and everything. But when you compare that to, like, okay, would you rather have the power to manipulate electricity, or would you have the power to, like, just lift a heavy rock? I think most of us would go with electricity, right? But then you get to Judge, and he's just like, well, I'm tall, and I have a cape. I love that. During the transformation sequence, it's like everybody gets a really badass raid suit, but all that happens with Judge is he just gets a cape. Okay. And he's got a spear. He's got like a drill spear kind of thing. But, himself, he doesn't really get anything. He doesn't really have, like, I have the ability to control water now. Like, nothing like that, because his body wasn't modified in the same way as his kids were. So it kind of makes him just initially kind of just lower spec than everybody else. So what are you going to do, right? But I'm thinking they all made it out okay, and they're going to get out of Totland, first things first. And they might lose a few members of their fleet along the way, but that's the good thing about the Germa. They have their entire kingdom mobile. So they might have to sacrifice a few fragments of the Germa kingdom in order to run interference for them to, like, the flagship to escape. But, they're the clone troops, and they're, like, steadfastly loyal to the very last dying breath. So if they're like, separate the left and right flanks of the kingdom to go back and kind of, run interference on Daifuku or Smoothie's fleet so it gives us enough time to escape, they would do that without a hesitation. They'd be like, yes, sir, it's been an honor serving you, Lord Judgy! And they would go and do it. So they might be severely injured, their ships might be, smoking, and they might have to repair them, but I think they'll manage to get away. So what are they going to do after Totland? Are they going to go back to the North Blue? Well, I thought about this, and I'm like, well, they could if they wanted to, and they could still go back into the Grand Line, because the great thing about the Germa's fleet is they can literally go anywhere in the world. It's not limited by the natural barrier that is the Red Line. They can, surpass the Red Line if they have enough time. I think it was like a few weeks to go from the North Blue to the East, so it takes a while. But yeah, if they really wanted to, they could go anywhere in the world. But the thing is, would they go back to their homeland? Would they go back to the North Blue? The whole reason that they wanted to ally themselves with Big Mom is to get the fighting force necessary to go back to the North Blue and reclaim that entire sea for themselves. That was the whole point of it. The 66 in the Germa double six is because they ruled over the North Blue for 66 total days before they were dethroned. And there's another story there revolving around something, and we just don't know what that is. But anyway, Judge is really prideful of that. He wants to live up to the Vinsmoke name. I'm sure it's probably like his grandfather or great-grandfather is one that started it, and he has to kind of pick up that mantle. So he's just like, I'm gonna figure out a way to reclaim our lost glory, and he's very passionate about this. So I don't really see Judge going back to the North Blue until they have enough of the fighting force in order to take it over. Because I think that would be something that would, be a very great sense of shame for him. Because Judge is the kind of guy that when he starts talking about the lineage of the Germa and how they were dethroned and the situations they find himself in, you could tell, I think he was even crying in one of the scenes. He's just like, how dare you take this away from us, Big Mom? We were going to reclaim our lost, glory and all that. So I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to, okay, troops, retreat back to the north, because they're going to go back to the north, and in the situation they're in right now, the status where they're at, their ships are damaged, they're injured, so many of their clone troops are probably gone. They're going to go back to the north and they'd be seen as like a joke. Just like, haha, look at the Germa's fleet. They tried to ally with Big Mom, and they got their asses kicked by the Straw Hats and everybody. Ha ha. They were double crossed. So that's not going to be good for Judge's morale or anything. So, now when it comes to his kids, they probably don't care because they've had their emotions removed in that certain way. So they probably don't care too much about being shamed or anything like that, the same way that Judge was. Maybe Reiju, because she retained her emotions and everything, but I don't think really Reiju gives a shit about the Germa or anything. The only reason Reiju stays around is because while she does have her emotions, she's still programmed in such a way where she cannot refuse an order from her father. So it doesn't matter whether she personally likes it or not. It's like if Judge orders her to be, you're going to be, Germa 66 number 0, you're going to be poison pink, you're going to work for us. She has really no way to resist that, order. So she has to do it. But, given her own devices, I don't think she would be part of this, of course. Same thing with Sanji. He wants to get as far away from that as possible. So the kids probably don't care, but Judge cares. All right, so he's like, no. We're not going back to the north until we can make sure to make a comeback. And also, you have the whole thing with the newspaper. Now, most of the newspaper was focused around Luffy and the Straw Hats and his master, because that's the way Stussy interpreted it. Stussy interpreted Luffy as this Machiavellian schemer, like just he's pretending to be dumb as a doornail, but he's actually this brilliant master tactician, on the level of the greatest ones in the Marines or something like that. That's the way Stussy portrays Luffy, so that's the way the article was written about it. So there's definitely stuff in the paper about the Germa and about Beiji and everything, but I'm sure it wasn't as prominent. But there's probably something in the paper about the Germa 66, probably like Germa 66 dethroned, removed from the world government, defeated by Big Mom's crew, whereabouts currently unknown, something like that. And that's also something important to mention is the Germa were kind of like a tentative part of the world government. It's like I'm sure the world government really didn't want them around because of like their ambitions and everything, and they were a little kind of different than the other countries, but now they're definitely not part of it anymore, so they can't attend Reverie. They might see that as an insult though, and they might, because they have the ability to go to Reverie if they want to. They can just scale up the side of the red line and just go over to Marijois. I think that would be kind of stupid to do that right now, but I mean they could have done that if they really wanted to. But what's that gonna mean? Like, does that mean right now the Vinsmokes and Judge and everybody all have bounties on their heads? I would assume that's probably would be the case, because it's like, all right, you're kind of part of the world government, but we'll see where this goes. But then everything, oh, you were trying to ally with a Yonko. Oh, well, screw you then. You're done. You're out. We were like, maybe, but we're done. Throw out all their paperwork, and they start assigning bounties, probably on the Germa fleet in general, but also on the Vinsmoke siblings themselves. They're probably all going to get revealed to have bounties at some point. And I would find it really hilarious if Judge's bounty was the lowest and all the Vinsmoke siblings. I would assume maybe all the Vinsmoke siblings would have equal bounties. Like, what would be a good number for all of the Vinsmoke siblings? I would probably say maybe like give each of them like 350, 400 mil, maybe something like that. Maybe that's a little bit too high. Maybe 300 million for each, like Luffy's bounty back when he was in the, before the time skip after the whole events at Enies Lobby. Because you figure that, just Ichiji and Niji by themselves were able to liberate an entire country in just like an hour or two. Now if they go up against really strong fighters, that's a different story. Like Ichiji went up against Katakuri and he got the crap beat out of him. But you know what I mean? Like if they're all working together, and it's just normal opposition, and their enhanced bodies and skin and everything like that, I think 350, 400 million for each of them, that would be a pretty good one. But Judge doesn't have any special kind of abilities himself, so you can just downgrade him to like 100 million or something like that. That would be funny. Also, Judge has a title as well. They all have titles. Ichiji is sparking red, Nichiji is electric blue or Denki blue, you got poison pink. Okay, I'll never do that again. I'm sorry. You have... Alright, I'll seal that in writing right now, Tekking never... will do the kissy face, lip thing ever again. I'll get this notarized. One of my neighbors down the street, her name's Bonnie. She's a lovely lady. She's an official notary. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to get this notarized later today, and we'll make sure to make this official, okay? That's all right. But anyway, you got Poison Pink, and then you got Winch Green, who's Yonji. But then you get to Judge, who is Garuda. If you don't know what the hell Garuda means, well, you're not alone, because I didn't know what that meant either. Like, oh, Garuda! That sounds cool. All right, Garuda. What is... I was, like, going through all of my One Piece terminology, like my Rolodex. I'm like, okay, what... Garuda, does that stand? Is that like an animal in the One Piece world? What is that? I didn't know. Like Gouda? Like a Gouda pastry? Because I got some of those over here on standby. These things are freaking delicious. Garuda. Well, I looked it up. And, spoiler alert, it's a bird. Alright, so basically, in the Tibetan Zodiac, because the Tibetan Zodiac is a little bit different than the Chinese Zodiac. You're aware of the Chinese Zodiac. Go watch Fruits Basket. It's a great anime. But, in the Tibetan Zodiac, the rooster is replaced with the Garuda. And the Garuda is just this really ornate, really badass-looking bird, if we're being honest with ourselves. And also, during the time we see the Vinsmokes, like when they're at dinner, they're eating, you see that immaculate, like, throne room that the Germas have. And in the background, you see a bird there, which, that could be symbol of the Garuda, so that's the symbol that Judge took for himself. Okay, so, yeah. Basically, in Tibetan Zodiac, the rooster is Garuda, which is interesting for me because I was born in 1993, so I was born in the year of the rooster, which means I'm Garuda, which means I have something in common with Judge, and that just kills my high immediately. Anyway, so, where are they at right now? Okay, well, where are they at right after Totland? Okay, because it's been some time since the end of Totland. They might not be here anymore. Okay. I think if I was Judgy, and thank God I'm not, but if I was Judgy in this situation, I'd be like, all right, we got out of Big Mom's territory, we need to go find an island, just an uninhabited island, just somewhere where we can lay low. Preferably a place that has, like, a cave where we can, like, hide our fleet or some cove or something so it's not obvious. Because that's a negative about the Germa. Like, when you see them coming, you see them coming a while away. Because they have such a large freaking mobile kingdom. It's like, I see something on the horizon, there's 17 ships pulled by giant snails with the number 66 tattooed on the side of them. I'm like, alright, yeah, we know the Germa's rocking toward our town. So, try to find a place that's out of sight, and then dock your ships there, and then just start working on, repairs, and getting more clone troops back up. It probably wouldn't take very long for the Vinsmoke siblings to heal their injuries because of their augmented bodies, but Judge, it might take a while for him to get back up at full power. Okay. And then after you do that, maybe spend a week or two recovering, and if you manage that, the first thing you gotta do is you gotta figure out some way to save your reputation. Because the Germa are regarded as the evil army. They're regarded as like this army basically ripped directly out of a comic book. It's like, holy crap. It would be like if the Legion of Doom was now a real thing. And just be like, whoa, the Legion of Doom is a real thing? Holy crap, they're rather intimidating. But then, like, let's say some SWAT officers break into the Legion of Doom and then kick their asses. It's like, okay, Legion of Doom doesn't really inspire as much terror as I thought it would. Okay, so in this situation, they're like, all right, we need to do a big hit. We need to figure out something for us to do to really show the world that we're still on top. We're still the evil army. Yeah, we might have had that little interaction with Big Mom that didn't really go as planned, but that we are still to be feared, and you better, you be afraid of us. Now, I immediately, once again, going back to Reverie, if they left Totland and they healed up for a little bit, and they managed to get ready in time because, the Reverie, there was a little bit of a time gap between the end of Totland and the beginning of Reverie. It wasn't very long, but I think it was at least a few days. So, I mean, it might take a while to do that, and we don't know everything that happened at Reverie, but it's a possibility that they might at least, if they're not going to maybe try to attack Reverie directly, they might try to do something that a lot of the pirates did, like attacking the ships going to and from Reverie. So, they might have missed the ships going toward them, but hey, what if the Germa, like, attack a bunch of ships, leaving Reverie? All right, now, yeah, random pirates attacking the ships, you know, the Marines can handle that, like Kobe and Helmeppo and everybody. But what if, like, the entirety of the Germa attack the Alabasta fleet, or the fleets of a bunch of different kingdoms at once, and they use their technology to overpower the Marines, and they manage to capture or, you know, eliminate a bunch of these kingdoms? You know, it's like, holy crap, the royal families of 5 different kingdoms were annihilated by the Germa double six as they were leaving Reverie. I think that would be a pretty damn good way of showing the world. Like, you don't even have to capture them, like, hold them for ransom. That's not how the Germa plays. You just bomb the crap out of all of their fleets, eliminate them, and be like, wow, all these important political figures just got eliminated by the Germa. You know, I mean, once again, the world government would be like, okay, then we're gonna declare war against the Germa. But, you know, Judge, in his mindset, he might view that as like good. That's a good thing, because we need to prove our cause. You know, we need to maybe he might go after Vega Punk now. Vega Punk, we don't know where he's at. I would like to think he's currently either at Reverie or he's heading to Wano in some way. You know, because you have also Smoker and Tashigi that were going to visit him. Fujitora wanted to visit him. Orochi wants Vega Punk. So there's a lot of stuff going around with Vega Punk right now. I have no idea where he's located. He could be at Marijois. He could be at the Marine base. He could be in some secret lab, you know, 2 miles under the surface of the earth. He could be going to Wano. He could be hanging out with Smoker and Tashigi right now as part of an escort team. I have no idea where Vega Punk's at. But, you know, Judge used to work with Vega Punk, and he's like, okay, or maybe the clone systems were damaged or something, or, you know, he thought, maybe I need better clone soldiers. I need, like, heavily armored clone soldiers. Vega Punk's the only person that can help me with that, so I'm going to attack all of these different kingdoms, and, you know, maybe in that situation, he might take some hostages, you know, be like, oh, I took all these kingdoms hostage, all these princesses and queens and kings and everything, you know, and if you don't give me Vega Punk, you know, we're gonna have some problems here. And then over at Wano, you have the same thing with Orochi, like, you better give me Vega Punk or we're gonna take you guys out. So, you know, like, Vega Punk is sitting there like, why do so many people want me? I just wanted to love science. That's all I wanted, is just science, man. I don't know what kind of guy Vega Punk is, but, you know, considering I don't think he's evil, I don't think he's that kind of asshole, you know? I think he's just a guy that's, like, brilliant, and he's gotten tied to the world government, and then they're kind of forcing him to do everything. Like, Vega Punk, we want you to build a bunch of super weapons to oppress the world, and Vega Punk's like, you're not gonna let me leave unless I say yes, huh? He's like, nope, we sure won't. I'm like, okay, so it's at that point he has to do it, but I could see Vega Punk maybe going into a really dark place. You know, I could see him as like this depressed scientist just sitting around his lab all day and just be like, my entire job is just to make mass weapons to oppress the common people. What the hell am I even doing with my life? You know, and that's also why I think he's connected to the Revolutionary Army in some way. You know, getting Kuma and the PX-0 involved in some way. So, you know, if otherwise, you know, he might have just figured out some way to just, you know, if he was really, if he was a guy like I think he is, and he's really troubled about all these horrible things the world government is making him do, and I don't want to be dark here, but I think he might have just himself at some point. You know, just like, I can't deal with this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just choosing to end it. But then the revolutionaries come and contact him. He's like, wait, Vega Punk, you don't have to go that far with it. You can help us out, and if you follow our plan, if you work as kind of like an undercover agent for us, the revolutionaries and Dragon and everybody, we might be able to dethrone the Tenryubito. We might make it to a point where you could be freed from this. So there might be a situation, you know, where, like, you know, Execute Order 66 or something with all of the freaking, you know, is it Execute Order 66? That's Star Wars, isn't it? But there, you know, like a self-destruct sequence on all of the different pacifistas, something along those lines, you know, where he's like, okay, just, you know, the clean slate protocol, just eliminate everything, start over, all of the weapons of mass destruction I was forced to create are all, you know, serving to destroy the Tenryubito's reign, and then I can go and make science for good, right? But Judge might definitely be going after Vega Punk right now. He might also be targeting the royalty at Reverie there. Other than that, he might just embrace the life of a pirate. Maybe he might have the idea of, like, having revenge on Big Mom at some point. Because he's certainly the kind of guy that, you know, might hold a grudge against Big Mom in that situation. So he's like, well, we got our asses kicked, but also so did Big Mom, kind of. You know, she lost a lot of her fighting forces and everything, so we're going to go and we're going to kind of heal up, and then we're going to go back into Tautland, and we're going to kick the crap out of her. That would probably be, I would say probably, if they succeeded, the best way of really reclaiming their glory, and be like, whoa, Big Mom screwed with the Germa double six, then the Germa double six turned right back around, and they screwed with Big Mom, right? And they took her out. and Big Mom is no longer a Yonko or something. Now, this was a role I originally gave to Blackbeard. Like, Blackbeard was going to be like, Totland is vacant now because Big Mom went to Wano, and a lot of her, fighters are in Wano too. So I'm going to go and take over Totland while it's, vacant, so to speak. I mean, there's still fighters there, but nothing that could really stand up to Blackbeard's full power crew, especially now that they have the shadow powers and everything. There was a really good fan comic, and I'll link it below. I can't remember right now for the life of me who drew it, but I think it was like Professor or Doctor something. I'll throw up who drew it up here, but it's this really great fan comic, fan manga that gets Oda's art style pretty damn approximate, pretty close to it, and it's a great what-if scenario if Blackbeard were to invade Totland, and, his crew fights against Katakuri and Cracker, and it's a great fan manga, so I'll link it below, and I'll put that up there. But, yeah, you could also possibly throw that role into Germa. I don't know if that's really likely, because it's going to take a while for them to recover completely, but with Big Mom not actually being there, maybe it's just like, here's Totland, and they escape, and they heal up, and now that Big Mom's gone, they just, like, pass by Totland and just bomb the crap out of a few islands, like, yeah, well, take that! And it's like, oh no, Ice Island is burning down, so is Cacao Island! Ha ha ha, and they just sail away. It's like, they did like a drive-by kind of thing, and you're just like, whatever, now we need to go and do something else now, right? But how else are they going to, how else are they going to appear later on in the story, like actually meet back up with the Straw Hats or something? So, I threw this out here as a possibility. Let's say, do you think the Straw Hats are ever going to go to Marijois? Do you think they're ever going to need to go to the Holy Land? It would be interesting to think about. It would be interesting to see happen. I don't think that's the case right now, certainly, because they would have to, like, double back, but you never know. Maybe the last road poneglyph is located in Castle Pangea, so they would have to go and, they'd have to go there to find out about it. They would need some way to get up the red line in order to get there as illegal pirates. They wouldn't be able to gain access through the Red Port. I mean, I guess they could fight their way through the Red Port, but the government would still see them coming a mile away if they did that. So they would have to need some sort of technology that allowed them to traverse the red line undetected. Germa time. That would be perfect. That would be perfect. It's like, the last road poneglyph is in Marijois. We find out where it is. We need to go there and get it back, so we have to have this Marijois arc, right? And so the Straw Hats have to figure out some way to get on top of the red line, and that's when the Germa show up and be like, oh, fine, we'll do it, because we want to settle something with the government ourselves. And so here's Marijois, here's the Red Port directly below it in Marineford and G1 and everything. Let's say they go all the way over here to this other side of the red line nobody's guarding, just some random part. They scale the mountain. Might take a week or so to get up there, but they finally get up to the top of the red line. That would be really cool, too, because then we would get to see what, like, because we've seen Marijois, but the rest of the red line, what the top of the red line looks like, we've never really seen that. So that'd be really cool if they arrive and just this endless, just red kind of wasteland at the top of the, at the red line. It's super foggy because it's so high up and everything, and it's cloud cover. It's like, welcome to the red waste, they call it. The red waste stretches all the way around the top of the red line except for Marijois. Something like that. It's so big they wouldn't be able to patrol it constantly, not like they would have to. But that would be cool if they, and then the Germa and the Straw Hats and maybe some other groups that they went with joined together to go and invade Marijois, get the road poneglyph, and then manage to escape. That would be really cool. Plus, I want to see the Vinsmokes again. Judge, not so much, but I would like to see Reiju again for obvious reasons. Yonji, I don't really give a crap, but Ichiji and Niji were pretty sweet just in terms of the way their powers worked. I would like to see them fight alongside the Straw Hats again, Or they could show up during the final battle at Raftel. That might be another direction they could take it. Like, well, if we can get the One Piece, then we'll get back on top. That'll definitely give us some mad street cred for us to take over the North Blue, if we can go get the One Piece. Though in that context, they might be working against the Straw Hats, they might be two opposing sides there. But hey, I mean, that would be really tough to write, but if you could somehow manage to fit all of those different factions, Blackbeard, the Marines, the Warlords, which might be a separate faction at that point individually, because the Warlord system might be abolished, Shanks might be there, the Germa, the Marines, Luffy, and the Straw Hats, the other supernovas, like, I don't know how the hell you could write that and make it make sense without leaving somebody out, but I mean, Oda, if anybody could do it, Oda could do it, right? He managed to solve, I mean, the War at Marineford had a lot of different stuff going on, and they managed to do it in a good way, so good luck to you if that's what you're planning, right? But, yeah, What do you guys think is next for the Germa? Because I'm pretty sure they're not just going to be, they're gone now, and we only see them at the very end of the story or something. No, they're definitely planning something. They're going to come up with something. They're probably going to get bounties at some point. We might have, like, at the end of Wano, we might cut over, or maybe at the end of Act 2 or Act 3, we might cut over to the Germa hanging out somewhere reading the papers, like, oh, that's what's going on in the world right now. Well, we're right about ready to launch our counterattack. Men pull out! Might be something like that. So, yeah. Let me know what you think about that below. Check out that comic I mentioned. That's a really good one. And now, yeah, that's right. So, Tekking101 signing out. Transformation sequence, go! No, I'm not going to do that. I don't think I can make the plunging V-neck really work, I don't think I have, the body for it. But the wings look fabulous. Here's one more thing before I go. Does Reiju have a devil fruit? Because I seem to remember reading somewhere that it is confirmed she has a devil fruit, but it would be so weird, because it would be like, okay, Ichiji, Niji, and Yonji, and Sanji, they don't have devil fruits, and they just have powers of their own, except for Sanji. I mean, Sanji can light his leg on fire, that's kind of a power in of itself. But then, Reiju doesn't have poison abilities from her natural power, she just has a devil fruit. She would be the weird one out, right? And she kind of already is. Not just because she's the only female, but also because she kept her emotions and everything along with Sanji. So yeah, she might have some kind of mythical butterfly zone that allows her to absorb, poisons and stuff, but it would be weird, compared to the other ones, right? That would be like if Ichiji had, the Mera Mera no Mi, or if Niji had the Goro Goro no Mi on top of his regular electrical powers. You know what I mean? You see what I'm getting across here? It'd be a little weird. But anyway, let me know what you think about that as well. Tekking101, signing out. See you, everybody. Whoosh!